Hey guys, welcome to the Nye Digital Games November update. Just going to go over some things that I've completed this month and some things I'm working on. So with that, let's get right into it. First thing I want to talk about is the Zelda Retrospective. I finally completed that and I've released it just over a week ago. And you know, I am my own worst critic, so every time I look through it, I see all the pain points of things I wish I could have changed about it. But the reception that I've gotten on YouTube for this has been outstanding. There's been so many positive comments and likes. It's way more than I ever could have imagined. I was thinking maybe 150 people are going to see it, not 15,000. So with it, and anybody who's new here because of that video, thank you, welcome, and hopefully my game dev journey that I'm showing you here on this these monthly check-ins are going to help you and keep you motivated and keep you going through the world of game dev. It's a lot of fun. The next game I want to talk about is called Pandora's Dice. It was for a Tri-Jam Game Jam. The theme was what's in the box. So on this one is you shake up a box and then you roll 3 dice, and when you open the box, those dice determine what room you get, what monster you fight, and how many monsters there are. After you go through, it's roughly about 10 rooms or so, it's all based on your dice rolls. You can then fight the monster, the big bad guy, and then it determines, you know, do you get sucked into Pandora's box or do you escape? It was an interesting and fun game to make. The best part about this was I got #1 in gameplay and I got #1 overall from voters. And so I did really well in the game jam and I was like, oh, this is awesome. I found some amazing shortcuts for time on that one. All my enemies in that game all have the same exact script logic. The only difference is I have export values to change the speed and their damage output. And it makes them feel like very different enemies as a result of that. So if you get a chance, head on over to itch.io and check it out. The next game I want to talk about is called Mayhem Manager. And this is the first time I've actually teamed up with somebody for a game jam. I just put out a call in the Michael Games channel and said, hey, does anybody want to team up, especially like an artist? I have an idea for a game jam. Salago is how I pronounced it. I know very well that that's wrong. I don't speak French. He's from France. And I am horrible not only on names, but just languages in general, including English. But this was a very positive experience. I really enjoyed working with someone else. Not only did he do the art for it, but we had a lot of back and forth. My original name was Mayoral Panic Manager, and he's like, hey, that doesn't really roll off the tongue, so let's change it to something else. And I was like, well, let's stick with the alliteration. And he's like, and we came together to Mayhem Manager. He had a great idea for the artistic vision of what the interface and everything will look like. I had the idea for the general concept of the game. And I think the two of us working together created a very, very cohesive game, and it was a lot of fun. And when it came to the game jam, so did everybody else. We actually took first place in that game. And it was awesome. I've never, it took me 8 game jams before I finally won one, but I can now say I'm a game jam winner. If you want to take a look at that, I released a video on the building of it, and that's all of my implementation into Godot, including bringing in his artwork and building the thing. So head on over there and take a look at that. Next, I want to circle back to the other thing that I've talked a couple times I'm working on. That's my Castlevania 2 remake. Now calling it Castlevania Simon's Tribute is the name, working title at least, that I'm going with on that. I released it on itch.io under restricted, password-protected playtest for the Michael Games community members. I haven't quite got the feedback I was kind of looking for on that, and I think a lot of that is my own fault of not being clear and communicating what I'm looking for in the playtesting. I got a lot of bug submissions, people saying, hey, we found this problem. I fixed those, I pushed the patch up, but I was trying to get more of a general feel because as I kept testing it more and more, I don't know if this is just me being too immersed into this development process and involved in the game, but it almost felt like it's too bloated for what the game is. I mean, this was a simple NES early Metroidvania before that was even considered to be a thing. So I'm thinking what I might do is I might roll it back and scale it back down to be closer to the original. But I don't know yet. I think I'm going to wait. I'm going to get a couple more playtest results on that. And if you are interested in playtesting that, head on over to the Michael Games Discord, and I have a link in there with the password so you can check it out and give me some feedback. And lastly, I just want to kind of talk about some things I'm currently working on and thinking about working on. The first thing I'm doing is I'm rethinking my Void Recall game. The idea I really enjoyed the idea of the sci-fi. He's a clone that breaks out of the lab and fights, over to the elevator, goes up the elevator, gets to the city, and then has to fight as like a demo game. I like the idea of it. The problem is the assets I have and the design I have for the stages and stuff like that is not really coming together well for me. I feel like the assets I need I don't have available to me, and I'm not a good enough artist to make those yet. So I don't know if I'm going to go back and redesign the game. It's kind of a sci-fi dystopian, you're left over, almost like a Fallout thing is what the artist has in mind for these type of assets. So I might pivot a little bit and maybe rethink what I'm going to do with those assets. Keep the same platformer and stuff like that. But if I pivot the idea of the game, the assets might be able to fit, and I might actually have that creative flow to create a game that's actually enjoyable. The next thing I'm working on is a reverse deck builder game. This was another entry in one of the last game jams I was in where they had a reverse deck builder where you start out with like 50 cards, and as you go through, it gets whittled down. I kind of like the idea, so I'm playing with a prototype right now that's themed, very medieval. You got a fighter, a priest, a wizard, and a rogue, and those are different theme type of cards. And then you can burn the cards, get permanent upgrades, and then your deck gets whittled down and you have to fight increases in enemies. It's kind of like a Slay the Spire and a couple other things. Just instead of making a bigger deck and replacing them with more powerful cards, you're burning cards to make a smaller deck, but then the bonuses are going to help you. It's an interesting idea. This is all just gray box. There's going to be no art or anything like that. But hopefully once I get that into a state here in the next couple weeks, I'll be able to make that playable for people to playtest and give me some feedback on. The other thing I'm thinking about going back and doing is updating some of my previous Game Jam entries with some additional content, new features. So like right now, like Chitinfall, I really want to go through and have always planned on adding boss characters every X number of feet that you travel. So they'll spawn one big boss character for you to fight to kind of break up in the monotony of only having the two bugs. I also want to add a grenade toss feature in there because there is a animation from the artist in there that has a grenade toss, and I think they'd be a lot of fun, especially if you can pick those up. They're limited time use as you go through the stage. So I'm thinking about circling back and adding that in. It's kind of like a when I need a break from Gamedev. The other one I kind of want to go back to do is Graph Paper Gauntlet, and I'd like to make that a little bit more extensive, some more tiles, some more enemies, and just make it just a little bit more. Like I really want to get ranged weapons in there, so I might again use that as a palette cleanser as well and go back and revisit it. The other one I'm kind of tempted to do and probably not going to do, but is go back and touch Zelda again. There are a couple things that are bugs that I want to fix, and I want to get those patched. I don't think a lot of people are going to notice them, but I notice them, and I think they're pretty glaring. But I have no intention to go back in and add the 3rd through the 9th dungeons. It's very tempting to do. This is a remake of a Nintendo game. I don't want Nintendo to come after me. This was done as a learning experience. I'm not trying to make Zelda so people can play my game. I want to change it, and I wanted to learn from it, and that's what I did. There's, like I said, just a couple things. I want to learn how to make patches with Godot so that I can patch a game, and I think what I'm going to use that for is my technical learning, is how do I take this deployment and add a patch to make it a full patched game. So I might do that. I might also play with it if I get around to building the 3rd dungeon. Maybe I'll add it like a DLC option just so I can learn the technical aspects of how to develop that and bring that into a game. But again, I have no plans on making that into a full game. And the last thing I'm working on is I'm going to be teaching a course in the spring for my college called Game Programming. And in there, I'm going to be teaching students how to use Godot for the first time. So they're going to go through simple stuff, hitboxes, hurtboxes, physics, delta time, just general things to go with game dev. And so I'm looking forward to that. It'll be the first time our college has offered that. And it'll be the first time me actually teaching a programming class. I've taught a lot of people to program one-on-one, but I've never actually taught a class in it. So it's going to be very interesting. So wish me luck with that. And with that, Thank you all for coming. Welcome again to all the new people, and we'll catch you again at the end of December. Have a good one. Bye.